Hello, this is Brant Hunt, and it's late. It's approximately 1 a.m. in the morning here on the East Coast. I title this talk simply as The Sickness of Men. That is what we are doing to one another. As I've looked here in the last 100 years, but you can go further back in history, the insanity when I see a man. The insanity to rule over man, one group. As I'm looking around here, and I've actually heard people, even in my group thinking, that is, people, we need socialism now. Oh, really? Are you fucking stupid? People, when they get desperate, they do foolish things. History proves that over and over again, especially in the issue of fear and how you destroy a country from within. So let me explain something here very clear. It won't be a long video because I need to go to bed. What is happening in the history of man is that we have come to the idea that we must rule others. We must rule others. You see, there's just quotes from George Bush about the law of the jungle. You see, so in his perspective, it simply is that you need government because simply if you don't have government, you have the law of the jungle. I disagree tremendously with that statement. People need to understand, if they're ever going to get out of this whole quagmire of believing in government, is that they need to stop believing in government. You need to understand that that's where the power is, that you need to take responsibility for your life, not the government to do it for you. All you're doing is digging a hole for your grave. What do I mean by that? It's against nature to rule over another man. Do you not understand that? I don't see the animals ruling over the other animals. Do you see that? Do you see that? We have fallen far, folks. We believe in government, which is mind control, which is basically the same thing as religion. That we somehow have to have some type of government to take everybody's freedoms in order to, quote unquote, protect us. Natural law. Natural law is the answer to mankind. When I seek to love others, when I seek to, and that's what it's got to be. It's got to be a love. It's got to be a heart. It's got to be these things. If it's not, then we're just continuing to shooting and killing one another. And that's what we've been doing for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Somebody's given us a tainted orange here and belief system that says we have to have government to rule over us. Think about it. Think about it hard, folks. When are you going to realize this? And I think the only way we're going to realize this is when the whole thing collapses. I believe that. That's what's going to have to happen. The whole thing's going to have to collapse for you to see that you need to rule yourselves, that you need to take responsibility for your life, and to grow your own food, to not depend upon government. Because this is what's going to happen, folks. Seriously, what's going to happen here is this. Those that want to continue to believe in this system are going to go to hell. And what do I mean by that? What's going to transpire is simply is the division of those who continue to want to believe in some type of form of government control and those who don't. It means simply is a separation. This is a spiritual deal here, folks. This is all spiritual. This is radical too, because most people don't understand it. We live in the last age of what we call the Pisces age, which is a belief system. A belief system in church, religion, a belief system that is to do with government, that somehow we need government when we won't take the responsibility to actually to grow our own food, to not to be dependent upon a doctor, or medical people, to actually educate ourselves, that is self-education, or what I would call unschooling. There must be a radical departure, and that's what it is. This is the whole thing here, is that basically the whole thing's going to fall, and we're going to find out who wants to go into the age of Aquarius, that is the age to do knowing instead of believing. I looked at a site just a while ago, probably 30 minutes ago, about someone, they're pushing these ideas here in America. And these young people really, these are intellectuals, they've caught up in the whole idea because see, they want to rule over people. They've got the sickness, folks. You see, that's the problem. There are people out here that want to rule over you. And I'm thinking about my own political science background and those who were involved in what I didn't get into it because some of these people who are poli-sci majors, they went into like 3 or 4 different categories. And one was simply is to be involved in government, that is to work in government. So that was naturally one way to do that. Another area simply was to go into international studies, that basically you would be working somewhere with the Department of State or Foreign Affairs in some way. Third simply is that you would be involved in some way that is your professor or teaching political science in the future. And probably the last would be simply is that would be somewhat involved in campaigning, that is for someone to get into office or to be in law school. You see, poli-sci was actually a prerequisite to get into law school. And so I'm observing and I'm thinking back in my political science classes, and I remember a couple that was there, and they were actually from California. And their ideas were more radical than most people in this area. And they were going to get an education to go back into work in government. Do you see what I see? I see something very dirty. You see, these people want to rule over you because they feel that's what they should do. Do you see that? Do you see the enemy? Do you see the enemy that this is the attitude that many, well, I have a nice cushy job. It's similar to what I call a pastor being a ruler over the church. You follow? You see this whole thinking, this whole way of people thinking that we have to have managers, we have to have people in government in order to do all kinds of government paperwork, or to rule over people, to rule over them. They have a job, they make good money, and they choose to. This is the way they're part of the system. They are the dirty bastards. They're the ones who desire to rule over you. They are the sick ones. And what I mean by that simply is their attitude simply is that they want a nice, cushy job. This is similar as what I remember in being in seminary. I can remember these young gentlemen who basically were spoiled brats in seminary, who their daddy was probably, as far as I remember, they were pastor sons, some of the worst out there. They would act religious, but in reality, they weren't religious. They just want a job. They want a cushy job that would make, good money in a church, to lead the flock astray, to deceive people, all for their own benefit. It makes perfect sense when it just clicked in my head here just a minute ago. Never thought about this, but I see it clearly in the area of politics, and the whole idea, the whole thing here is simply is I remember my dad wanting me to go to work in Washington, D.C., and I'm like, I don't want anything to do with that area. I didn't want anything to do with it because I didn't want to rule over people. I didn't want to work up there and be a part of the whole system, have a nice job, making 150, 200 grand money, such and such a year, and doing nothing but probably shuffling paperwork and creating bureaucratic positions, such and such. And so this is how we've destroyed ourselves. We believe in government, so we have to have people who rule over us. And so these people who rule over us are in reality our slave masters. And we're the slaves, you see. They don't call us that, but that's what it is. How dare you do that? This is how far we have fallen as people. And we support them. You see, we pay taxes to these people who rule over us. How dare you? You talk about cunning. This is cunning because, you see, this is why they keep you in the government educational system, to tell you you're in freedom. Why would it need to tell me I'm free when I'm not free? You see, why would you push the idea, the ideology, the propaganda to tell me that I'm free, when in reality I'm looking around, I'm saying I'm not free. You see, that's a way of mind bending your whole head here and thinking, oh, and there are people here in America that say we're the freest country in the world. Really? Have you been elsewhere? Have you gone to other countries? No, but we're the freest country in the world. Really? So people believe in the system. And in order for this to all to fall apart, the system has to fall. It has to fall. Economically, politically, everything's got to fall. It has to. No sense in quote unquote trying to hold it up, because simply it's going to fall anyway. It's like basically a car going over a cliff. It's going to happen. And you say, well, you're a fatalist. And I'm saying, no, I'm not a fatalist. No way. I see this as the opportunity to teach other people, young people, or have these and see this and saying, I don't want to rule over people. I want to be at peace. I don't want to rule over people. I don't want to take, money that, take this, because there won't be any money in the future. There won't. I don't want to do this to other people. I don't want to. Why would I want to do that? Why would I want to rule over somebody else? Because I'm a hypocrite. You're a hypocrite that you do this. You know that? You're a hypocrite. Claiming that you care about people when in reality you simply are taking money from them. You're stealing from them, just like pastors do, preachers who claim that you're going to heaven and tell you lies to make you feel better. And you never really even wake up. Only time you wake up simply is you stop going to church and realize simply is this is a story. This is a nightmare, and realize, let me get out of this nightmare. Let me get out of this whole belief system, which is a trap. So the idea here is I'm talking about what Lysander Spooner spoke about, natural law. It goes back to the principles of just what Jesus said. He was the example. There's a comment simply very clear. It says, do unto others as you would like to have them do unto you. And that's about love. That's about caring. And they've got us all split up. They've got us all completely mind controlled, believing there has to be some type of government, there has to be some type of military, there has to be all these things. The scales must fall from your eyes, folks. You must come to the realization of seeing that you've been lied to all your life. Because natural law itself says simply is we don't need anybody ruling over us. How dare you? I'm the authority in my own life, you see. I choose to do what's right. Another thing simply is right is might. Doing what's right is might. Not the other way around, folks. We've been told that might, that is, you're being powerful, makes it right. That's hypocrisy there. That's a lie. You see? And so when you do right to others, it creates might. When you honor someone and treat them with respect and love and do it in the right way, then things will change. Because we're at the bottom of the barrel here, and basically it's dark. And anyone that has any light in them that does these things, that is truly real and authentic, can make an enormous impact upon the world. Because guess what? The world is living in darkness now. And so that when you are the light, people see you. Even though it may not be that bright in a dark field, because simply is that you're just one person. But if you have the right ideas and the right heart, you can have enormous change. And that's what we're about here. Not only changing ourselves, but actually seeing change in the future. Laying the foundation for a world that no longer has to have government, that no longer has to have people to rule, have rulers to rule. The word ruler has a negative connotation, in my opinion, because it's like, I remember a ruler being slapped, on your fingers as a young child. And that's also part of that was part of the whole program too. See, you can't be an individual here in school. You have to be part of the whole system. So I won't keep you tonight since it's late myself and I need to go to bed. But it's important for you to understand simply is this. It's not in your best interest to try to rule over other people, because in reality, simply it's going to die out anyway. It's going to die because people are going to lose, they're going to lose belief in the system because it's going to fall. And there won't be anything there to hold on to except you taking the responsibility for yourself and growing your own food, taking care of whatever it does, such and such at that point. That's why you're here at this point. There's deeper things too. I'm just talking about what I call the mechanisms of this. It's also spiritual, enormously spiritual, because what right do you have to rule over me? And what right do I have a right to move over you? I have no right. If you don't do any harm to me, why should I do any harm to you? Why do you seek to do harm to me? Do you want to cause this insanity to continue on? Because that's what's, you could continue to be a part of that. I don't want to be a part of this insanity. I see too much of it already. It's crazy out there. People are willing to do all kinds of things to their own brothers and sisters, not knowing there are brothers and sisters out there. So I appreciate your time. I wish you a good evening, and you take care. Bye-bye.